So go ahead and add up your score right now. Are you adding? Do you need to grab the calculator? Are you adding up?
Okay. I think they had enough time.
Do you think you had enough time to add up? Okay. All right, great. Well, this is the scoring range. Rob is saying he only scored 20 back there. Rob, you're a director, man. No, but okay, so here is our scale of 75 and above. 75 generally we thought would be, your A, but some of these questions, that 75 up or down. But we said 75 is like A plus. To 60, 75 to 60, we're going to give you an A on this quiz. We said 60 to 50 is a B. 50 to 40 points is a C. And unfortunately, if you got below 40 points, Tyler?
You need to get out and get some experiences. You need to go back to college. You need to do some of these things. I'm not saying if you score low that you have no potential as a writer. You might not even be a good writer already. This is just a guideline. The point I'm trying to make is you need to work on skills like getting an education and getting some life experiences. That's what I'm trying to say with the writer's test on that.
So that's the writer's test. That was the Reader's Digest version for time purposes, time
and I
constraints.
didn't have time to get into all the number of books you've read in this classics.
Right.
Like
There's
that.
actually the one in the manuscript goes on for 40 questions.
Yeah.
It's 40 questions. So that was the Reader's Digest version. We just took basically the top 15.
Or randomly 15 almost.
Now, this once again is Sun Tzu, The Art of Writing. It's just the manuscript, as you can see. It's just
no title.
No
page.
title. Still work in progress. Potentially, you might see it at Amazon as an ebook. That's the plan, anyway. We're going to go to the next portion, talk a little bit about this. It's called the Great Storyteller's Checklist. Mm-hmm. It's a checklist for the great storyteller, things that you might want to run through. And we're just going to go through this checklist here and explain, Tyler will explain each one. There's 15. Let's go to the first one. Good guys aren't all good and the bad guys aren't all bad. But generally you can have some purely evil characters or two in your story, so there's gray area between these characters.
Yeah, I look at a classic like Shane, a really great movie. And it's interesting how the guy Riker, who's kind of the heavy and the bad guy of the story, you see he's not a bloodthirsty person. He's not really a sadistic person, but there's a limited number of water and resources in this area that they're living in, and there's not enough to go around for everyone. And he figures since he got here first and he tamed this area, he feels he has first right to it over the people that came afterwards who didn't have to rawhide it through the bad days like he did and his friends did. So, you listen to his arguments and you say to yourself, that is kind of a gray area. Maybe he's not really that bad of a guy. Maybe he's just kind of desperate and trying to make the best of a bad situation. And he doesn't particularly enjoy bullying or killing these people But his back is against the wall, and he's trying to make some choices based on that. And to me, that made him an interesting villain because if you look at it, he really wasn't that bad of a guy. Now, Jack Palance, the hitman that he hired in the story, was sadistic. He was amoral. He was a bad guy. But you don't want all of your characters, as a general rule in a story, to be like that. You want to have some gray areas between the heroes and the villains.
Okay, so that's the first one. You want to have some gray areas between your good and bad characters. Make some gray area there. This is the checklist for great storytelling. Number 2, making your characters interesting instead of sympathetic.
Now, I think that's a huge mistake that most writers make. They try to make, I look at a movie, Woody Harrelson started it, Demi Moore, Robert Redford, Indecent Proposal, where they were so busy trying to make everyone in this film sympathetic, they forgot to make them interesting. And to me, that's a mistake. They're so worried about making people sympathetic. I'm like, damn, my feeling when I'm writing, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. I'm going to make these characters interesting. Whether you find them sympathetic or not is irrelevant. I'm going to make them interesting, complex, three-dimensional characters that you can say, hey, I'm learning something from this story watching this, rather than just being told the Communist Party line or the Hollywood Party line, in that case. And it's interesting because I wrote a story called Welcome to Reality, and I talked with this one woman who's an Emmy Award-winning producer, and she was saying that my hero in the story, the main character in there, she said the first half of the film, the first half of the play, she wanted to kill the guy. She hated him. But by the second half of the story, she was rooting for him. And the thing is because the character I wrote, he was someone who was half victim, half villain. And once she realized that he had no good choices, by the middle of the story, she was rooting for him to survive and make it at that point. Whereas before, she just saw him as a scumbag. It does your heart. It brings your heart great joy to hear award-winning people say, "Hey, I loved your work and I learned and grew from that."
Right. And on your third one here, which is kind of close to the second one, but still a little bit, make your characters real, and that means borrow from your own experiences, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I would try to do. I would try to weave in real people that I knew instead of just, using stock characters from, like the stock science fiction stock character list. The square-jawed, military man, hero, as the main character, or the dim-witted sidekick. Instead, no, these, I would weave in people that I knew and actually take things that they said, in real life, and what their attitudes and viewpoints and biases were, and weave them in the story. When people watch that, they're like, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look like everything I've seen before. That's kind of what I'm saying with that one. Sure.
And I guess with that comes this number 4 here. Have surprises and don't be predictable.
Yeah, you look at a movie like Alien, for example. When that movie came out in its day, the audience that was watching it really, when they came out of the theater, they said everything they saw in the film went against their expectations of what they predicted would happen in that movie and work. For example, Tom Skerritt's character was the captain. The audience thought he was going to save the day. He was the hero. He was the main character. But he dies. He's the third one to get it, actually, in the story. And audiences of the day were like, wow, now their brains are thinking. Now they're moving. They're like, wait a minute. Nothing's going the way I predicted. And they're saying, wait a minute, how many people are left in this story? They're getting clobbered. This isn't supposed to happen, And then when Sigourney Weaver, a woman's the only one to survive, that hadn't been done up to that date. So it's good to be unpredictable,
Right. And, this is interesting, number 5 here. Have a message, a moral at the center of your story, but you come across it without being preachy. So in other words, have a moral, but don't be preachy.
Don't be heavy-handed.
Don't be heavy. Don't be heavy, man.
Be cool, man. Be real. But I look at a film like Alien, and it was so subtle. A lot of people miss the point of the movie, even though they loved it. The point was why some people survive in a dangerous, hostile situation, and why some people don't. And the reason Sigourney Weaver's character made it at the end, because she had all the right qualities of luck, patience, and courage in order to survive in that situation, and intelligence. And the other characters, they didn't have all of those qualities, or enough of them to make it through.
Right. Number 6 on the list. This is as a story writer. You're encouraged to take risks and be willing to fail. Fall on your face, right?
Oh,